Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of blogtalkradio.org as well as online church. I bless each and every last one of you, and thank you for being here on this particular broadcast here this evening. Hallelujah. We got a lot that we're going to be covering. We got a whole lot we're going to be covering here tonight. So I need for you to listen to me. If you got means to record it, you may want to try to record it because we got a lot of information we're going to put out here. All right. Now, it's hard in this world, and it's hard in this time that we're living in right now to actually have a good, sound economy without savings and without the people who are big savers and big spenders to invest. And the only way that you can actually build a sound economy is if you have people who are strong in savings and people who know how to invest those savings in order to stimulate as well as provide jobs for the working sector or the people in the working sector so that everybody can live what you call a comfortable life for years and years and years to come. We don't have that. We don't have a sound economy anymore because for some reason, the powers that be have chosen to actually to adopt the policies of trying to pay off debt with debt. We're insolvent as a nation, and we're not getting any better, and things are not going to look any better for us. I hope that you paid attention to the last decade that we just come out of with the housing market, with the devaluing of the dollar every time they printed more money or they made more bonds out of thin air. If you did not learn from last decade, you're not going to learn from the one that's coming up, as well as the next one, and then the next one after that. Because the problem is that when you don't have a sound money policy and you're not using, just weights and measures, such as money that comes out of the earth, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because when we got off the gold standard in 1971 under Richard Nixon, everything was messed up. Everything went bad. Everything went bad from that point. We was already in debt, some billions of dollars. Now the T word, trillions of dollars, is just a word that's just so common on our tongue now. And most people don't have a good understanding of economy. They don't know anything too much about economy, much less about money at all in the first place. And most people are not interested either. It's just as long as they can be able to go and get whatever good and services that they can, whatever they want. They're finding good with that. They're all finding good as long as you don't disturb my world. Well, our world is being disturbed, and it's going to be disturbed, and it's going to be disturbed greatly here in the upcoming years. And that's the reason why we provide you with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding so you can know what to do and so you'll know how to prepare yourself for what's coming down the pike, because it's not looking good for us here in this country. So when Pastor Dowell talks the way that he does, I'm only interested in saving the Most High Yah's people, which just happen to be Israelites. Now, understand this. There's no such thing as a black Hebrew Israelite. There's no such thing as a white Hebrew Israelite. You're either a Hebrew and an Israelite because you are in the nation. We have to stop allowing the system to manipulate our mind and our conscience. And they continue to coerce us by terms that they've adopted in order to bring about what we call a race divide. When Pastor Dowell gets on here and makes all these videos, I think the first thing that needs to be in everybody's mind is that Pastor Dowell full well knows what he's doing. And I know exactly what I'm talking about. Most people may not understand because most people are not diligent followers of me, and they don't understand what I preach, what I teach, what I'm standing for. The Bible only dealt with people in terms of nationality. What nation were you of? You could have been of another nation, come over to Israel and receive the law, statutes, and commandments, and you could have become a Hebrew Israelite. And in being a Hebrew Israelite, that means we're a mixed multitude of people. We're a mixed multitude. We're a mixed nation. So we have to start speaking to each other in terms of nationality. You know what nationality you are, because these this sentiment, this thought has been ripped from our conscious. And the enemy has so much sway and influence on people's minds. You know, you almost have to stand up and give a standing ovation of the job that he's done, because he's actually done, you know, using the TV, the medium of the TV has done a good job at manipulating people's minds. You know, America now, we are the greatest debtor nation in the history of mankind. Did y'all hear what I said? We are the greatest debtor nation in the history of mankind. And it looks like that we're trying to do everything that we can possible to make sure that nobody ever comes close to our first place rating in being the greatest debtor nation. We used to be the greatest creditor. Now we're the greatest debtor. And what we've got going on in the news now we've got the Chancellor of Germany, Merkel, as well as the one from France. And all of them over in the land of China begging for money, begging for bailouts, begging for more money. And of course, you know, it doesn't make any sense. If you were China, you know, what advantage? The only advantage you could gain is the Europeans being nicer to you, and giving you a closer seat at the front of the table. Other than that, there's really no economic advantage to China whatsoever at all. America's not getting any more loans from China. China's just not simply loaning us no more money. I mean, after all, we owe them $3.2 trillion in treasuries. And they're just finished with us. They're not going to loan us anymore. And all of Europe is mad at Germany. All of them are mad at Germany. And, you know, I think what people do, and I'm going to say this statement again, because those of you who are listening, you know, you are used to listening to me, you know full well, you can almost pretty much tell what I'm getting ready to say when I start a statement. If you don't know history, then you're destined to repeat the same mistakes of the past, and people are actually repeating the same mistakes from the past. They're doing it. And Germany has not forgotten about history. Did y'all hear what I said? And we're going to go into that history here in a little while. I'm going to talk about some history that a lot of people don't even know about. They haven't forgot about that history. I'm sure a lot of people are enjoying what you call the Super Bowl tonight. And of course, you know, the Bible clearly says, wherever your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So we know where a lot of people's treasure is. Hallelujah. But Germany has not forgotten what Europe did to them in the early 1900s. And I'm going to explain that to you because you haven't been told that in your history books. America has definitely never been honest with you concerning what real true history is and what it's all about, and neither are they planning on being honest with you about it either. Germany has not forgotten what the so-called Jews or the Zionists of the world has done to them in the early 1900s. And that's the reason why they're not freely sticking their hand out and lending a helping hand to Greeks and all these other sinking ships that are going on over there right now. Now, remember, to be wise, you have to listen to a wise man in order to be wise. And, of course, you know, the people in our country have proven to us that they're not wise whatsoever at all. You can't pay attention to the rhetoric that the United States is still continually trying to sell us on a daily basis. You know, the United States is, I've never in my life seen nothing like this country where if their mouth is moving, they're lying. If a politician is in front of the TV camera, they're flat out lying. It's hard for me to comprehend that kind of nature because the Most High Yah did not make me that way. And he didn't make you that way. It's amazing how everybody else in the whole entire world is dealing with inflation. And they get up on front of these news cameras and these TV cameras and they tell you that we don't have any inflation here in the United States of America, yet our pocketbook is lighter and lighter and lighter as we continue to keep seeing these gas prices as well as these commodity prices continue to keep rising. We don't maintain the power of purchasing goods and services like we used to with the so-called world's reserve currency called the dollar because it's sinking. And if you don't start making moves to position yourself and posture yourself against what's taking place here, you're going to be in bad shape. Really, really bad shape. And that's the reason why that over 15 years ago that Pastor Dowell mainly started this community. I started this community because I could see what was getting ready to take place. Not only because it was in my heart because I read the scriptures, but I could see what was getting ready to come down the pike in the line. Now the question of the day is you know, we have low interest rates when we should be having higher interest rates. We should be increasing the interest rates. So therefore we can at least try to do something to stabilize this economy, but they're not doing that. You know, they're asking for another $1.2 trillion. And then they're talking about they're going to cut the deficit. Deficit spending by another $1.2 trillion over 10 years. So they want Congress as well as the back pockets of the American people to support a $1.2 trillion increase in the monetary supply here in the United States, or to expand the debt. And they want to do that within a matter of a few days or months. But then they want to say that they're going to try to pay that off in 10 years. It's just not sound. It's just, you know, you've got to be retarded, spiritually retarded. And y'all forbid, I would never make fun of anyone. Never make fun of anyone that has any type of disability whatsoever. So when I use the word retarded, I'm talking about a mind that is totally separated from reality and cannot function by itself, and is not even lawful for it to function by itself. Matter of fact, you need to be watched very, very closely. So they have done a job. I mean, a big time job. Now, the reason why America is in a race to devalue their currency, just like China and just like any other industrial nation, the reason why they're in a race to devalue the currency, and the reason why they keep printing more and more and more money, is because when you print money and stuff, what it does is it gives you what you call a competitive advantage from an industrial viewpoint or business viewpoint, because you start to make things cheaper and you get to keep things around longer. And of course, then businesses will want to stay in this country a little bit longer because they feel like they can make a little bit more money, because business, they do not exist to make your life better. There's not a business out there that owes you a job. It's just the way that the system has trained us to believe. They don't owe you anything. And that's why Pastor Dowell continually keeps saying over and over and over again, if you are familiar with Yah's kingdom and you know Yah's people, the best investment you can do is start trying to invest into his kingdom. And when I say get out of debt, I mean get out of control and get out from under control of the powers that be that are controlling you by debt. I understand that it may take some time, it may take a few months, a few years to get out of, but start making little individual strides and moves to do that, because you don't want to be in control or under the control of this system when it totally collapses, especially when building prisons in the United States of America is a private corporation that is on the stock market, where they actually make money, legalize slavery here in this country by building more prisons and having more cheap labor. I mean, it's just sad when you see what's going on. And you're not taught this. You're not taught this in your schools. You're not taught this on any news sources and stuff. So therefore, it's hard for you to function. You don't understand what's going on. But when you devalue your currency, you're just trying to gain a competitive advantage in order to keep more industry in your country, to keep more factories in this country. Except our country policies are off the chain. We don't do nothing but make laws against people in this, and businesses, people who want to be private, independent business. The tax laws are oppressive. The laws are oppressive. You open up a business, guaranteed to get sued in order for somebody else to make a living. And the people just, the business people from a business front, and since they're just tired of that, so they just jump ship and go somewhere else where the laws are less oppressive and they can pay cheaper wages. And that's what they do. They're trying their best to keep the manufacturing sector here in the United States of America all that they can, but You know, many businesses already done voted with their feet. They're already out of the country, and what are they doing? They're importing. They're importing their products into America, and America's not exporting anything except a bunch of wars, which a lot of people believe that China is actually going to become the world's next ruling power. And I've talked about that a lot as well, but when I look at this thing, I don't see it as China. I know that China has a strong currency. But as things begin to go on and the days begin to go by, you know, I try to make sure that I don't get off the Bible. I try to stay focused with the Bible, stay focused with the scripture. And it looks like that these Zionists over in this so-called made-up country called Israel has every plan in their heart to rule the world. Now, in order to do that, the United States have to become a non-entity. They can't become a player in this world rulership. Just like Britain. Britain, you know, the pound used to be the world's reserve currency at the beginning of the 1900s. And, of course, then the dollar replaced the British pound. And now the dollar, ever since that point, has been the next, you know, been the world's reserve currency. But successor after each one of them, that means that Britain had to become a non-entity. Somebody had to leapfrog and become the world superpower. And so the next move, I believe, in order to usher in, this is how I'm connecting these dots, the man of sin, which is going to be what you will call modern day a Jew. He's going to be a Jew. But the problem is he's not going to be born of the seed of Mary. The seed of Miriam has already done come. And if I can use seed of Miriam, even though he come out of the seed of the Most High Yah, I'm using from the scripture from the book of Bereshit when he talks about the seed of a woman. And I know that many of you already understand. But brothers and sisters, I tell you what, I believe that Israel is vying to be the next, I'm talking about that so-called country, Israel, where it's full of Israelis, led by the Zionist movement. I believe that they're posturing themselves to become the world's next superpower, and they're using the United States of America and all these warrantless wars for their agenda, because they're depleting them. You deplete their economy, you deplete their whole entire military, and then you just move right on in to protect them. Now, what a lot of people don't understand, and the reason why that the United States is kind of taking it slow with Iran, because you're dealing with people over there who are religious in nature. Did y'all hear what I said? And you got two different types of sects of Muslims. You got the Shiites, and then you have the Sunnis. Now, Iran, the country, Iran itself, is mostly Shiite. And most people don't understand the difference between the Shiite and the Sunnis, but let me try to at least explain to you the Shiite side of it, so you can begin to understand why these people and the way Mahmoud Ahmadinejad talks and what he believes in. You see, the Shiites, they believe that they are revolutionists for the people. They are there to defend the people. And martyrdom is in their blood. Just flat out martyrdom. And they fight with passion. And they're just not about to just be muscled around and bullied around just because of the United States and Israel. They already understand, and they know very well, that the United States war arsenal is depleting, and in between each war, they print more money. That's the reason why your Congress and your senators don't want to cut the military spending, because they want to continue to keep producing more bombs and to be able to conduct more raids and to be able to keep the military well funded. Now, again, like I said, over on my bookshelf, I got all kind of books about the history of ancient Greece and the history of ancient Rome. And it's just as clear as a picture is on a wall to me that these people are following the same exact policies of the United States of America is, and as the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks. And it's just sad to sit there and watch and see it take place, but it's just, hey, it is what it is. But what's going to end up happening in all this, the American people are going to be the ones that's going to be the collateral damage. We're the ones that's going to end up suffering from the brunt of all of these warrantless wars. We're the ones. And it's a shame. It really truly is, because we're going to experience poverty in this country on an unprecedented scale. Now, you won't experience poverty if you learn how to dwell together in unity. If you learn how to build relationships. If you learn how to do that. If you learn how to, is somebody at the door while I'm broadcasting? If you learn how to be holy as he's holy and develop your relationships with your brothers and sisters, you really truly need to do that. If you follow the sentiments of the scripture, to get together in common unity with those who believe, or at least make moves. It may take you 6 months, may take you a year, may take 2 years. And I know the way I do on the community, I'm very selective about who I let on the community. And it's not that I wouldn't love to have a lot of Israelites here, but you have to be very careful because a lot of people, it's like a new broom. It starts off very well. And but then after a while, it doesn't sweep as good. We need last hour laborers in his work that we're doing right now, because the United States of America is going to be, it's not going to have any influence in the world whatsoever at all in the next 20 years. Some people say, well, 20 years, whatever. I'm just shooting around figure because we're steadily on the decline. Last decade was a decade of literal hell. This next decade coming up is going to be a decade of an eternal lake of fire. And this is all there's to it, along with the successive years. Everything is posturing to usher in and to bring in the man of sin. And you have to understand, the Zionists of the world, they control governments. They don't control people. And that's the reason why that they, through government, do everything they can to try to pass laws, because they know that people have been conditioned to accept laws, whether they are just or unjust. And they know it's going to, a lot of people would perish and a lot of people would die before they finally clicks in their head what's really truly going on. And it's just a sad, sad thing. So, it's all been prophesied of, every single bit of it. And it's just sad. We got a people that are ruling the world governments. The United States of America, the Israelis over there in that so-called land called Israel, the people in Britain or England or Germany, you name it, Australia, France, China, Japan, it makes no difference. I mean, look at the people over in Syria right now. Their own government is now shelling houses, shelling their own citizens' homes right now. And it's a sad, sad thing that's going on. And where's the plea of Russia and China at now? Now that their own government has done turned on them, where are they at? I mean, it's just like the Americans. If this world has learned anything, you don't make any treaties with America, because we ain't gonna keep them. We ain't gonna keep one treaty. We'll leave you high and dry, and that's just the truth. And people call that politics. I call that lying, deceiving. I call that knowing your enemy, so that you don't receive the same thing at their hands. That's what I call that. But it's sad to see what's going on. And it's all stage playing, every bit of it. Now, I'm going to talk about history here just for a moment that you may not be familiar with, a reason why we're in the condition that we're in right now. And I'm going to show you how to connect these dots and how we tie all this together. In the early 1900s, at the Communist Bolshevik Revolution, the people who are so-called Jews today, who are Khazarian in nature, that's what they are. They are a nation of Khazaris, nations of the Khazars. They were dwelling in Russia because they were so immoral, their business practices were so bad, they got ran out of Russia and they have found refuge in Germany. Germany accepted them with open arms. Of course, they had already, way back in 1740 under King, or 740 under King Bulgan, they had already controlled all the trade routes in Asia, and so they built up an extraordinary amount of wealth. So they come into Germany and they end up, because Germany was doing pretty bad at the time economically, and they end up buying up businesses for penny on a dollar. And they end up controlling all the businesses in Germany. We're talking about these Khazarian Jews, these Ashkenazis. And then what happened is that Germany ended up in a war with England. And of course, Germany, England was getting battered and bruised, and they were hurt pretty bad. And so Germany went to the meeting table to sit down in England and said, I tell you what, let's just call off the war. Let's just stop everything we're doing, everything, and you go on, and we will go on, and we'll just leave it at that. Well, England or Britain was seriously thinking about that until the people who found refuge in Germany, the Zionist Jews, went over to Britain and said to them, we will bring the United States of America into this war, but you must give us Palestine. Now, what in the world does Palestine have to do with a bunch of Europeans, Khazar Jews? What in the world do they have to do with the country of Palestine, except they just wanted it for their land and their nation? The United States of America did not have a beef with Germany whatsoever at all. Not one beef. As a matter of fact, they stayed out of the war. They just let the Europeans just fight it out among themselves. All of a sudden, what happened? The United States comes into the war, World War I, World War II. And before I get on up to World War II to let you know what happened in between time, the United States comes into war. Next thing you know, the Germans are getting battered and bruised by everybody. So they end up coming to a table sometime. And it wasn't until then that the Germans had figured out that those Jews that they let into their country, who they let them function as citizens in their country, it wasn't until then that they found at the table that those Jews had went to the Brits and sold them down the tubes. And even then, Germany did not treat them harshly and treat them wrong. So the Jews got pretty much what they wanted. They got a treaty from Great Britain, the United States of America. And they signed that treaty way before 1948. It wasn't until you saw it come into fruition in 1948 that under the League of Nations, that Great Britain and the United States gave that land of Palestine to the Jews. Now, in order to do that, they had to run all the Arabs out of there. And they did that by military conquest too. And now we wonder why that these Jews and Arabs who used to babysit each other's children, now we wonder why come now they're at each other's throat is because of the Zionists. When the Germans found out that the Jews, and I'm giving you just a quick summary of this history in a nutshell. When they found out the Jews sold them down, the Germans got upset. And mind you, there was only about 450,000 Jews, so-called Jews, Khazarian Ashkenazi Jews, in the land of Germany. But by the time they get finished fudging the history books and cooking the books, they got you believing in 6 million. That's why you get people like Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. You get people like the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. You'll get people up there challenging this. The Europeans are not about to have that challenge. They're not even about to have that brought into question. Now they come up with an organization called the Anti-Defamation League, which they use that to call you an anti-Semitic, which there ain't no such thing as an anti-Semitic. If you see me, you're looking at me, you're looking at a, listen to my words, Shemitic. Shemitic. So if they can define to me what a Shemitic or Semitic is, then they can tell you what an anti-Semitic is. How about that? So German got tired of the Jews, because you know what the Jews did? They turned around and put a worldwide boycott out against the Germans. Because remember, all the Germans imported goods, all of Germany, and I had all the goods imported because I lived in Germany 3 years. And they don't have what you call a large growing season, so they have to get their stuff bought in, all their commodities. The Jews ran a boycott against anything that said made in Germany. So they started to muscle them in their economy, because the Germans started passing laws against those Jews, and the Jews said, you can't do this to us. And the Jews, through monetary means and political might, because they own all the banks, that means they own America, they own Great Britain, and they own Israel, and they own the rest of the world too. So they put a boycott out against Germany. And they started to affect them economically. It was going to starve them into submission. And when they did this, Germany said, you know, we ain't putting up with this mess. And they said, we want you. And the Jews went to the Germans and said, we want you to get rid of Hitler too. Well, you see what the Germans did. The Germans start actually rounding up all the so-called Jews. Now, mind you, you got all these Zionists up in their flush, comfortable places while they're making all these backdoor cigar, alcohol-infested rooms. All these agreements with the Brits and the Americans to take the land of Palestine. Now, mind you, the Palestinians don't even have a seat at the table. They didn't know what was getting ready to hit them. They knew it once it got there. And so now you got a system called Christianity and the religions of this world who got you believing that these people who have no genetic link with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Moses, Jesus, Paul, and Peter, that they are the chosen people. And the whole world has been sold his bill of goods. And not only that, the European nations have perpetuated this lie upon the minds and the conscience of people. There was not no 6 million people that died in the Holocaust. If there was ever a Holocaust, the greatest Holocaust that it has ever been was the 100 million blacks that was brought over here to the United States of America by way of the transatlantic slave trade. That's a Holocaust. That's a genocide. But since we have a world where the Europeans are ruling, they write the history books. They're not going to have you learning anything about this truth. And remember, truth sets free and lies bind. And so the Germans started waging war, physical war against the Jews. That's when you see Auschwitz, gas chambers, and all this. Can you blame them? It was war. They was in war, literal flat out war. So America comes over and bombs the hell out of Germany and stuff. They place these Jews in that land, and now you got Jews making movies. What's the name of that one movie that they made about the Jews? Steven Spielberg, I think he made the last one. It slips my mind right now. But anyway, they got movies out about the Jews. Yeah, Schindler's List. Schindler's List. Are you listening, Carol? Yes. Schindler's List. And so they got the whole sentiment of the whole world literally turned upside down. I mean, literally turned upside down, including the thoughts. Because remember, the ones who write history is the one who are ruling and conquering. You get defeated by your enemy. Your enemy writes the treaty. You agree to it. If you're not, we're going to annihilate you. Do you understand the concepts? Do you understand the principles? Do you understand the conditions of this contract? And I tell you, brothers and sisters, this is pretty ugly. This is ugly truth. Now, the Bible clearly tells us that, you know, he's going to save his people from their sins. That's why I keep telling you that to be a nation of Hebrews as well as Israelites, there's no such thing as a black Hebrew Israelite. The Hebrews were Hebrews. The original ancient Hebrews started black. And if anybody wanted to become part of that nation, you could have. It makes no difference what color you were or what nationality. That's the way they used to talk. You could have become a Hebrew or an Israelite. That's all there is to it, a Hebrew and an Israelite. So they have conditioned our mind with this racism. So when you see me getting out here doing videos, I'm checking the hearts. I'm trying the hearts because I know a lot of people are not informed of what's going on. So anyway, they stick these Jews, they put them, they plant them in the land of Palestine, and now the whole world is duped and deceived, thinking that these people are the Yah's chosen people when they're nothing but Zionist implants. That's the truth. And that is the truth straightway.